Welcome to Cut the BS with Holly and Rachel.
We are here to help you ditch the overwhelm, stop second guessing, and reconnect with what truly fuels your body, your mind, and your life.
No fluff, no filters, just real talk that helps you feel strong, aligned, and unstoppable. Whether you're on a walk, commuting, or sipping your favorite matcha, this is your space.
Welcome back to Cut the BS, Season 2. Already, we are here. We are back. New year, new us, but not in the crash out mode. I am Holly, aka Holly, and with me is my lovely co-host,
Rachel, aka Ray Ray, aka Bun Bun.
And today we are coming at you with the top of Season 2, of course, but also it is 1st of January. So we're going to be talking all about how to avoid the new year, new me crash out, because been there, done that. Not this year, not the new us. That's the old us. We're leaving that stuff in the past, and we are taking sustainability into 2026.
I know that's right. Because if you're one of those people, you're sitting here, you're listening to us today, and it's January 5th, and you've already missed the workout. You've already kind of slipped up, if you will. This episode is definitely for you because we're not in the all or nothing. Gosh dang it, if I have to say that again for the people in the back.
You said it, Rachel. You said it.
So if the new year, new me lasted about 72 hours for you, welcome to Cut the BS. So as Holly said, we're talking about avoiding the new year, new me crash out because we're leaving all the crashing out in 2025. Okay. We don't have time for it in 2026. We ain't trying to make time for it. So, we're really going to be talking about what's super common in the Januaries of each year and what we should keep and what we should kind of kick to the curb.
Cutting through the BS of January, that's for sure.
Yes. And this is almost the kind of episode where you can kind of take a sigh of relief because, again, we're getting rid of the all or nothing. We're getting rid of the unrealistic goals that we're setting. And we're going to learn how to set some realistic goals, be able to recognize what we want and don't want in 2026.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully our goal is for you guys to walk away from this episode with some mindset shifts that you can implement going into New Year and just goal setting in general, because let's be real, just because it's January doesn't mean you have to have a new goal in January and never throughout the rest of the year. There's going to be things that happen where new goals come up. And so, you're going to be able to implement this stuff all year round. But really, like Rachel said, it's a breath of fresh air is what we're hoping this is for you, and just permission to give yourself some grace this new year and not go 0 to 100, because been there, done that, leads to burnout, leads to a crash out. And if you've been here, we love consistency over perfection. So that's
Right.
what all the things we're going to be talking about today is just how to become more consistent and make your goals attainable to you.
We love attainable goals. If there's two things that you can guarantee that Holly and I will talk about, it's against the all or nothing mindset and how to set SMART goals. So Holly, we're talking about the new year, new me crash out. We want to avoid it. We want to go into 2026 with some realistic goals. We want to avoid the crash out. We want to avoid the burnout. So why do you feel like so many people end up in this forever cycle of January, new year, new me, but it doesn't last more than a month?
I think the biggest thing is it feels like a breath of fresh air January does. And so it feels like, let me start with this clear canvas and let me redo everything, a complete 180 of what I know my life to be, because you're feeling so motivated by everyone else and by the fact that it's January 1st. But over motivation typically leads to unrealistic goal setting or unrealistic steps to attain the goal, It might be a realistic goal, but the way that you plan on getting there is probably a little over ambitious.
And so, setting goals that are unrealistic or maybe an unrealistic path to get there, that definitely is just ringing that bell of the all or nothing. Either I'm doing it 100%, I'm doing all the things, or I'm doing none of the things. When in
Yeah.
fact, you could just do like one thing at a time, take your time. We are, I've said this before, but like we're a very rushed culture and we feel like we have to have everything right now. It's a very instantaneous culture. Look, I got home yesterday at 2 p.m. I got on Amazon. I was trying to get some shoe organizers, and you best believe I picked the ones that were going to deliver by 6 p.m. I didn't want to wait. and like, and so I'm guilty of like wanting things instantly as well, especially when it comes to my shoe organizers, because I was sick of looking at those old ones in the closet. But when it comes to something like, goal setting or changing a habit, like habits are hard to break. Setting new habits is a difficult and it's more of a long journey, right? It's not a short sprint. So,
Right.
definitely taking our time with things like this. When you're in that all or nothing behavior, it does lead to burnout. Again, we do all the things and then we do none of the things. That's where shame comes in. You start criticizing yourself and then you're like, well, you know what? I'm just going to give up. And then the cycle repeats next January.
So the goal really is to not have to feel like you're completely overhauling your life every January or every Monday or every beginning of the month. It's really how can we take 1 to 2 sustainable habits that lead to a goal that we want to accomplish in a realistic timeline to avoid that crash out. Even if things feel small, small changes make really big differences accumulated over time. Again, consistency over perfection all the time. Um, and, you know, it's usually not that the goal is bad, it's really the approach. So, how can we fix that approach is really the best question to ask. So, what's something you feel like, Rachel, that is like one thing someone can do to kind of take a more realistic and sustainable approach to their new year, new me?
Well, Holly, it actually, I can really kind of pull from, like, we were talking about this TikTok that we saw the other day. You actually sent it to me, so props to you for that. And it's just a fellow health coach talking about how, you know, we try to add in all these things that we see influencers doing or we see someone that we really admire doing, when in reality, step one needs to be like a deep dive on what your current habits are now. So, blocking out your whole week. Like, what does your whole week look like? When you wake up in the mornings, what does your morning routine look like? What does your day look like? Do you eat lunch? What do you eat for lunch? Do you move your body? Do you sit all day? What are you doing when you're done with work for the day? What's your nighttime routine? Like, really evaluating and looking at where you're at now so that you then can know where you can go. Like, where's a realistic place for you to aim to go? Maybe it's, my sleep is trash and I need to really dial in on my nighttime routine so that I can get adequate sleep each night. Most people's sleep is, in fact, pretty bad. So, unless you're really intentional about it. So, maybe start there instead of saying, like, I'm going to add in 42 things. Let's look at what we're doing now. That way we know where we can go. That's realistic.
Right. And I think when you think of it in that way, like going off of the sleep thing, fixing that one thing, what is the ripple effect of that? Better quality sleep is going to lower your stress levels, probably. It's going to help with your energy levels the next day. Therefore, you have more energy to give to your exercise goal, your nutrition goal. When you're getting better sleep, you're not going to crave as much processed, sugary kind of foods. It's a big ripple effect. So if we can focus on one thing and then again, like let that ripple into other areas, it's a much more attainable route to go than, oh, well, I'm going to add 2 hours of exercise after work and then I'm going to go to bed at 1 a.m. And then I'm going to get up at 6 a.m. and do it all over again. In what world is that going to be sustainable? Not in mine. I know that's for sure.
Definitely not. And you know, I think something that's important to note is when January hits, like, I feel it too. Even someone who, you know, has been working really hard for a while to try to improve themselves in a realistic, attainable way, like, January's coming around, I'm like, "Ooh, like, I need to dial it up." Right? I have all this motivation, and motivation is just a very common thing to have in January because it's a new year. It feels fresh, you know, kinda like you said, and so motivation is there, but inevitably, motivation fades, for everyone, even people who are in the industry, you know, so it's because it's inevitable that it fades, like, it's normal because our emotions are not going to be constant throughout the whole year, right? They're going to go up, they're going to go down. And so motivation is highly connected to one's emotions. So just like your emotions aren't always in tip top shape, neither will your motivation be. So I think taking that in consideration too, like maybe we feel really motivated, we really aim for the stars for those goals, but then what happens when the motivation's gone? The stars fall.
Yeah.
So,
And I think that kind of takes us into one of our tips is what to do on the bare minimum days. If you have bare minimum effort to give, that's okay. And we still want to give something towards our goals, towards a healthier version of ourselves. So maybe we can dive in, Rachel, to that tip a little bit deeper.
yeah. So, for example, when life gets busy, there are things that I will still do. So, what are those things that you will still do? I know I can share from my own personal experience. Like, my life gets busy from time to time. Usually it's self inflicted. I'll admit that. Um, but when life gets really crazy, I'm still going to focus on my protein. I'm still going to focus on my steps. Like those are my non negotiables. Kind of think of them as non negotiables because inevitably our life will get crazy. Everyone's life gets crazy, you know, whether it be our schedule, whether it be our responsibilities, whether it be unforeseen circumstances. So, in those moments, what can I commit to being disciplined to do? And that, you know, for me is steps in protein. It's not always going to be going to the gym, but it's always going to be moving my body in some way.
Yeah. I know for me, mine's typically water and protein as well. Sometimes fiber, just depending on, what the other days surrounding that day have looked like.
Right.
I kind of fluctuate between protein and fiber or maybe one or the other. Again, just depending on how much effort I have to give. What is my bare minimum that day?
I want to throw a little wrench into this combo. Because this is something that I have a lot of conflicting thoughts about. Um, as someone who was a competitive athlete, as someone who's now a wellness coach. And so I want your thoughts on it, Holly. So, you know, when it comes to like we talked about our non-negotiables, I definitely have those. Um, and sometimes I wonder, how do I want to word it? How do you balance discipline and grace? And I'm asking that because I do think it's something that everybody kind of thinks about in the new year. And I know for me, I struggle because I'm usually a hard ass. Like I encourage my clients to show themselves grace. It's easier to say it when you're looking at someone from like you know, like an objective point of view. Like I'm not living their life, so I'm not as biased. But with
Mm-hmm.
myself, all the bias, right? And so I usually just really like have conflicting thoughts from my coaching brain and then my personal brain of like, give yourself grace, but also get your shit together. And I think in the new year, I think a lot of people kind of have those thoughts too. So how do you balance that?
That's actually really funny because I was literally having this conversation on my Instagram the other day because it is really hard to balance. When do I need balance and grace? And when do I need to say, okay, no, like you committed to this, you need to stick to something of your commitment, right? And I really think this is something that gets better with time. The more you practice discipline and grace coexisting, the better you're going to get at understanding, okay, I haven't slept today. I haven't fueled my body. I haven't put water, I haven't drank enough water. And when you get better at asking yourself those questions, I think then you can decide, okay, yes, maybe today is not the day to go to the gym when I know I haven't had good sleep and I haven't had food or water, compared to, okay, I've done all the other things and I'm just feeling a little lazy. It's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times, I think, just a conversation to be had with ourselves and some tough love on, have you done what you needed to do? And if you haven't had the food you need and the sleep and the water, so you're going to skip the gym, that doesn't mean, okay, well, I'm going to skip the gym and get Qdoba on the way home. If you're going to skip the gym, what else can you do? Speaking from personal experience with the Qdoba. If you're going to skip the gym, right? Like, what can you do at home to still stay on that path of a little bit of discipline while
Right.
practicing that grace? Maybe you can make yourself a home cooked meal and get to bed a little bit earlier so that the next day can be more successful for you.
Definitely. And I do, like, from a personal perspective, like, I definitely practice that. I think I'm constantly having this conversation of, do I need to show myself grace? Or, like, because I just always want to be like, you need to get it together. Like, it's never enough. And that's like the athlete mentality for sure, because like that's how I was in volleyball and still am. But I also am trying to think, like, as you're saying what you're saying, when I'm playing, because I still play, I mess up I mess up a rally and it's like, all right, move on, next ball. And so I guess it's kind of like just apply that to life. So like, all right, well, messed it up, next ball. Can't do anything about it now. And
Yeah.
then do better the next point. Yeah. So that's something, if any of you out there are dealing with that, it definitely takes time, like Holly said. I'm still learning the balance. Um, and I think people struggle with different sides of the spectrum. Like some people give themselves a little too much grace. And then some
Yeah.
people probably are too hard on themselves. So for me, it depends on the day.
Yeah. And I think it's season by season too. Like
Mhm.
for me, I know pre-wedding, I did not give myself very much grace. I don't regret that necessarily. Like I felt fantastic at my wedding. And I
Mhm.
think it did lead to a lot of burnout afterwards where I was then giving myself too much grace. And now I'm paying those consequences.
Yeah. And I think that might be a good test, like a good test to see if we are balancing it well, is if we're experiencing that crash and burn, we weren't
Hmm.
balancing. But if we're not experiencing that, then maybe we're doing okay with balancing, grace and discipline.
Yeah, that's so true. And something else like that I just kind of thought of was, I think we've talked about this before, but committing to something. Maybe your version of grace today is, okay, I'm going to go to the gym to continue, especially in the early days of habit setting and creation. It's so important that if your goal is to go to the gym 3 times a week, that you're just creating that habit of going to the gym after work or whenever you're going. So maybe grace looks like you're not going to do a strength training session because you're not, recovery and rest is not there. But you can go and you can walk on the treadmill and doom scroll or read
Mm,
your book or whatever. So maybe
yeah,
grace looks different. Maybe sometimes it's still doing something and sometimes it's doing nothing exercise related, but pouring into another cup. But just trying to we either commit to the first 10 minutes of your workout, see how you feel. If you still feel like crap, maybe it's nothing, maybe it's a walk. But just kind of testing the waters a little bit.
for sure. Stay tuned on my struggle with balance. So, as we kind of talked about setting our non-negotiables, like if the day gets busy, I'm still going to do this, your non-negotiables. I think it's important to note that you guys have permission to change your goals as the year progresses. Now, again, I think if you take the time to look at your current situation, what your current habits are, and you set, you base your goals off of those things. I don't think you'll need to change your goals, but again, like circumstances happen in life that make some things not attainable or not realistic. So, maybe you set a goal and then you realize that actually I want to make that goal a little bit harder because now it's June and I've almost met my goal for 2026. So let's progress that goal. Let's make it a little bit harder so that I can continue to get better through December. And then even on the flip side of that, like you think that you have all the pieces to get, this goal finished and to do it, but maybe you need a little bit more time. Maybe it needs to be like a little 2-year goal. That's okay as well. I think as long as you establish, again, like how you're going to get there, you make sure that it's realistic. You can reevaluate. We refinance our cars. So how come we can't refinance our goals? You know what I'm saying? So.
Truth, for real. And I can kind of speak from personal experience on this. I didn't necessarily change my goal, but I don't remember what year, but a few years ago, I set a goal in January to run a half marathon. I did run that half marathon. Shout out to me, for real. I did not train for that half marathon because I started to train for that half marathon and I hated it. Turns out I hate running. If I wouldn't have paid for it in January, which I don't know why I did that other than it was probably cheaper to go ahead and do it, I would not have continued with that goal because it felt really good to finish and cross the finish line. But I hated every second of it, for real. And I can't even say I hated the training because I trained for like 3 days. And I said, you know what?
3 days is crazy.
Oh, yeah. The most I ran was like 4 miles. But all of
And
this
then you
to
ran
say,
13.
maybe don't overcommit. If you're not a runner right now, maybe your goal doesn't need to be a half marathoner. Doesn't need to be a marathon. Maybe you just need to say, my goal is to consistently start running. And then if you really like running, you can go from there. But maybe don't be overly ambitious and overly motivated and sign up for a half marathon when you actually probably hate running.
Oh, don't say that you're going to run a half marathon if you've never actually ran. Basically, is what you're saying.
Exactly. And I would like to be clear. I did run. I used to run all the time for my high school sports. So I thought, what's a half marathon? A half marathon is a lot. That's what it is.
It's 13 miles and something. First of all,
I think it's 13.1.
You're not going to catch me doing more than 5 probably in my lifetime. Like, I'll probably do a 5K this year. Am I setting it as a goal? No. Because I'm not sure if I want to do that. My sister wants us to do it. So I don't know.
I think, what if you, your sister, and I, what if we all did the Bluegrass 10K? It's the one on July 4th. It is 6 miles, I think, is what it was.
Did you not hear my previous statement? I literally said...
Me like, no, Rachel, it would actually be so fun. We could all be miserable together.
I'm going to do the same thing again and overcommit. I literally said I'll probably not do more than a 5K in my life. Which is what, like 3 miles?
Well, actually, you said 5 miles, and we can run the replay back. I heard 5 miles.
I said 5K. I definitely said 5K.
I heard 5 miles, and that you would do...
6 miles is crazy.
A 5K. 6 miles is crazy, but it's not bad if you're doing it with someone else. I have done that too.
My friend is going
I
back
hate running unless I'm running with people.
Why didn't you sign up with someone to do your half marathon?
Well, there was nobody that I thought that would do it with me.
That was crazy enough to do it? Got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will consider the 10K.
Okay.
That's as
we'll
much
talk
as you're
about it
get
in
from
like
me.
April. That'll be plenty of time to buy it and not train. It'll be fine.
First of all, I'm training. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to train.
Okay, fine.
Because guess what? I just now got to the point where I can... well, that. Also that. I'm going to win that 10K. No, I'm kidding. I just got to the point where I can carry a conversation while running 1 mile.
Hey,
And the run pace is like a good 11, 12 minutes. So
that's a
anyways.
solid mile
Anyways,
for
it's a
talking.
lot. Well, I mean, there's heaving in between.
I'm dead.
Anyways, it's fun. All right, so moving on along. How many different ways can we say that you guys need to make sure that you're setting realistic goals?
How many ways can we say the same thing? How many
Right.
ways can we dress it up?
So actually, I want to kind of move in a little bit to some narratives that we typically hear in the new year, especially as it relates to health and wellness, fitness, that sort of thing, since that's usually kind of the direction people go with their resolutions. I'll give you a couple, you give me a couple, and I just want us to exchange kind of our little tidbit or what our response would be to these statements. Quote, you need extreme discipline in order to succeed at anything. What would yours?
My response would be discipline takes you very far. It takes you a lot further than motivation. And like we talked about earlier, there is a place for grace within a really disciplined routine. And being able to say, you know what? This workout, while it is what I committed to, it wouldn't serve me because I haven't done what I've needed to do in order to have a good workout. In fact, this workout might hinder me more than it's going to help me. And if I'm drawing on personal experience, like I said, I definitely had a lot of discipline pre-wedding and then crash and burn. Like you said, if that's the cycle you're in, is that really sustainable and is it really balanced?
Right. I agree completely.
Mine to you would be more rules equals more results. What are your thoughts?
Not necessarily. My response would be not necessarily. And we've kind of already talked about it. Like the more rules you have, the more things you have to balance. And especially if there are new things that you're incorporating, it could actually create less results because you're so focused on all of these things. I mean, you have to ask yourself, are these rules that you're setting getting you to this goal, getting you to this result that you want? And if it's going to cause burnout, then you're not going to kind of reach that result or that goal anyway. So definitely I call BS on that one because maybe you should set like 2 or 3, reach those, and then progress towards your goal or your result.
For sure. We see it all the time, even with like workouts specifically, people thinking more is better, 2-hour workouts 5 days a week compared
Cough,
to a
cough,
30-minute
75
workout.
hard.
Yeah. Rachel, don't speak of that. They're
Am I
not
going to
ready.
trigger you? Okay.
Yeah, more is definitely not always better, for sure.
So mine for you, if you burned out, that means that you didn't necessarily want it bad
I
enough.
think that's crazy.
Not crazy.
That just like the logic doesn't logic, and I don't feel like I need to expand more, but let me expand more. More often than not, when what leads to burnout is like we were talking about earlier, that over motivation, overly ambitious, go getter mindset. So to say that because you burnt out and you quit means that you didn't want it bad enough, really, it was just the approach that sucked and failed. You didn't fail. The approach you took failed. And when I say suck, I say that with love, peace and love, of course. How can we do better to approach it in a way that doesn't lead to a burnout and allows you to still reach that goal, even if maybe not in that instant gratification kind of way. Like you said, maybe it's a 2-year goal and not a 1-year goal like you originally had set out and hoped for it to be. Maybe it needs a longer timeline, and that's okay because either way, you're still making steps towards where you want to be. Maybe you need a short-term goal within your long-term goal. But definitely burnout does not mean quitting because you feel burnt out does not mean that you didn't want it bad enough. It was probably just an unrealistic approach to begin with.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Let's go out with a bang. Are you ready?
Am I?
If you mess up, you ruined it.
This hits a little close to home. This hits a little close to home because, little deviation here. Anytime I'm cooking and I mess something up, I just throw everything away. I've done it on multiple occasions. There's a story about an apple dish in a pan with holes in it and it leaking. And let's just say the pan too got thrown away. Anyways. So what I would say to that is logically not true. If you messed up, you didn't ruin it. You just have to take it in for an approach and try again. It's kind of like I said earlier, when I'm playing volleyball is played in rallies, much like tennis and pickleball. If you mess up, crap, I messed up, next ball. Can't do anything about it. What happened, happened. Can't go in the past, next ball. So similarly, if only I could apply all that to my life and my cooking. So similarly, if you mess up, it sucks. You need to learn from it, figure out where you went wrong, reset, and keep it moving. I wish that me as an emotional female could apply that to everything in my life. Unfortunately, I'm hardwired sometimes to throw it all away. So for any of you out there that feels this way of if you mess up, you've ruined it, you quit, you're a failure, we start criticizing ourselves a lot, just know you're not alone and that it's completely normal. But we've really got to tell ourselves what the truth is it's that we messed up, that sucks, this is what we did wrong, next ball.
I think that honestly ties in so well, Rachel, with a key thing that we want listeners to take away from today's episode, and that is, what's the next right thing? What can you do to recover from the wrong, I don't even like saying that, but the wrong thing you did? Maybe you didn't make the best choice. What's the next right thing you can do? Next ball type of mindset.
So I think kind of to end us, Holly, we want to reinforce a couple things to you guys. Progress isn't linear. I have posted this a lot of progress wins with my clients. When we look at, any clients that I have that have wanted to lose weight, when I post their progress, which is usually like a graph of their weight loss, it is never linear. Like it is never a straight line down. Like there are times when they go down, they might go up a little bit, they go down again, up, down. As long as the consistency compounds and we see an overall trend downward, that's really what we want. Like perfection is not realistic. You're never going to get there. So we might as well kind of take the hits of not being perfect and adjust and try to be better the next time. And also, I think that you're allowed to restart or reset or refocus without feeling the self-criticism, without feeling like you have to punish yourself, like without all of the negativity. Because again, perfection is an idea that isn't real. So although it would be great, the only person that could be doing that is Jesus. So, but he would meet his New Year goals. But we are not him. So,
I think kind of like you were saying with like the permission to restart and refocus at any given point and to not feel guilt or shame, because where is that going to get you? That's literally getting you nowhere. You cannot feel motivated by guilt or shame. Like those two things in my mind cannot coexist. And when I feel the guilt, I'm never doing something out of like, oh, I want to do this, or oh, I get to do this, or oh, this aligns with me. and where I want to be. It's truly out of punishment for myself. And so I think like just making sure that it's not coming from a place of guilt when you're restarting and resetting, and truly from a place of, no, I just want to feel better, I want to do better, and I want to be better.
Yeah. I mean, even studies show that negative reinforcers aren't usually as successful as positive reinforcers. And so that plays right into everything we've been saying. So the science says it, we say it, so you should do it.
Exactly, because over here at Cut the BS, we only speak facts.
So thank you guys for coming to our season 2 opener of Cut the BS. We are so grateful to be able to bring you a season 2. We're enjoying every minute of it. If you guys want to hear anything specific from us as it relates to health and wellness, or even just girlhood, let us know. And on that note,
And that's a wrap on this episode of Cut the BS with Holly and Rachel. If today gave you a dose of clarity, confidence, or even just a good laugh, we've done our job.
Don't forget, wellness isn't about doing more. It's about doing what actually works for you. So take what hit home, leave the rest, and keep showing up as your strongest, realest self.
Be sure to follow, rate, and share this episode with someone who's ready to cut the BS and live with more intention. Until next time.